Well, welcome y'all to a new podcast episode of Real Estate versus Technology. No co-host today as Mr. Dan Gandy is busy doing some things with his business. Normally he is our co-host here on our podcast for our StreamYard podcast. And then we also have our in-person over there. And the person that we have today, I want to actually have her on our in-person. She's someone who is literally crushing it. We have so many people in our inner circle, like Kenny Fast, one of our past podcast guests. Got to check out that episode. We had the very first one, and then we had him back on literally just a couple weeks back. And she's someone that is going to be going out for Nora National, and she just has this amazing vibe working with Neil Holmes. I mean, we really should have connected who knows how long ago, but everything happens for a reason. We were just talking about your vibe creates your tribe.
That's right.
Melissa, Sofia, welcome to Real Estate versus Technology. Excited to have you with us today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I just love your energy, and I can't wait to chat.
Likewise. It's amazing. I know before we got on the show, we were talking a little bit about the fact that you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know who you'll meet and how your vibe creates your tribe. And I feel like there's time spots in life where sometimes for some reason or another, you'll connect with someone. And we've just done that. And it was funny because you commented on something on Instagram, and I love just picking up my phone and just literally being like, what's going down? And like sharing that energy, and you're receptive to it. And you're like, let's go on the podcast. Let's vibe.
Oh my gosh. Hey, anytime people are ready to be like real, actually show up, I'm like, okay, in real estate, can be a rare attribute. So I was excited to see you do that. I love it. I do that for my clients and just people across the board. So hats off.
I love that. So everyone, you're going to have to give her a follow. Her Instagram is down below and all her links as well. Just want to make sure I put that out there because she is amazing. You're going to love her energy. And the one thing that sticks out for me, Melissa, is I really like, and by the way, my Melissa is my wife too. So it's funny saying Melissa. I'm like, hey,
Good
I use that
name.
name every day. Is like, your energy. There's something to be said about energy when it comes from the perspective of just like, it just being true and authentic. And there's not some type of narrative or, oh, I'm trying to this because of that or whatever the case may be. Like we vibed. And then I went in and I'm just full transparency. Went in, I looked at your Instagram. I saw some of the people that we had connections to. And I'm like, what in the world? And like, I was like, this is fate. So like, have you always been like this or like has evolved over the years?
Well, I'll say like what you see on my Instagram is what you get. I have definitely been like this internally forever. I have always been audacious. I've always been all about fun. I've always been a little bit of a rule breaker. And but like, have I shown up that way in real estate my whole life? No, absolutely not. I was 18 when I started in this business.
Okay.
And I was fed like a completely different version of what a professional real estate agent should be. And I did that. I mean, I was like pilgrim suits and like tweed, like so much tweed and, St. John's outfits. And you have to have a Mercedes because that's, people will buy houses from you if you drive a nice car. I mean, I was fed that whole like box of what I needed to fit into. And I hid myself. Like I was 18 and I was like going to raves and I was snowboarding and I was going to the desert and I never put any of that stuff out there. I was fully like that power pose in front of a listing agent and that just was not me at all. So absolutely not. There's a lot of people, but I'll say like when you're following somebody else's playbook, you're not branding, you're blanding. And I was blanding for many, many, many years.
Yes, I love that. And kind of going a little deeper in that thought process, I feel like a lot of individuals out there right now, a lot of real estate professionals, whether they're new, been in the business for many years or whatever the case may be, is like they're trying to find their identity and forgetting themselves. And I'm reading a book called Dr. Joe Dispenza, amazing guy, Becoming Supernatural. He's amazing, right? And it talks about getting past self and becoming nobody, no thing. And so you could just be a part of the collective greater consciousness. And so, almost like that time where like you feel an energy and the next, like you get a phone call, you're like, I was just thinking about you, mom, or whatever the case may be. Right. And I feel like, and that's why we want to go deeper here on Unleashed is like help people who's viewing and listening and watching this podcast to hopefully get past themselves, understand who they currently are. And the one thing that comes to mind for me is that you said you weren't who you were. You've always been who you are, but you weren't who you were in your business sense, because I feel like there's a switch. Like, oh, I need to be this way because of this situation, because I'm a business owner. And you said yourself, there's this status quo of what is, but does it really need to be, right? And so you brought down those barriers. So was there something at a time and point where you're just like, F this, I'm gonna be me. I don't care. I'm gonna put myself out there. And when you did, what shifted people perceptions? Elaborate.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have so much to say on this. I'll say, so first of all, I came into real estate with my mom. She was a Filipino immigrant, and she worked really hard. She actually came in as like an accountant at Coldwell Banker, and she started seeing
Let's
all
go,
the checks
mom.
come in for real estate agents, and she was like, "What? I need to do that." So she started being an agent in '87, and I joined her when I turned 18. I was doing it as a side hustle during
Wow.
college. And, I worked with her for 3 years. We tripled her production. We were going to the moon. I actually dropped out of college because I
Let's
was
go.
making too much money. And I was like following her playbook. I was her little mini
Mm,
me. I was following her around to all the real estate conferences, dressing like her, speaking like her, because I was like, that's what a professional agent is. She makes good money. So I'm going to do what that is.
mm.
I turned 21, and I was like going out for the first time as a 21-year-old on New Year's Eve. And then all of a sudden my mom called me, and like immigrant's heart, like she never asked for anything. She was not someone who asked for help. She was a very independent woman. She
Yeah.
called me and she was like, "Can you come and pick me up?" And I was like, "Come and pick
Mm,
you up?" She's like, "Yeah, I have a headache. I just can't drive." And I was like, "Okay, that's weird."
mm.
So I went to pick her up, and when I started driving, she was like, "Take me home. I have to sign loan docs for an investment
Mm,
property." I was like, "No." I called my dad. I was like, I'm taking mom to the emergency room. You have to cancel the notary." And right then I looked over to my passenger seat, and she was having a seizure.
oh my God.
And I was just like flying through red lights. I was just honking my horn. And we got to the emergency room. I was like screaming, like, "Just hold on,"
Mm,
wondering what was happening. And we got to the hospital. She had actually had a brain aneurysm in my car
mm,
that
mm.
burst. So in that moment, I never talked to her again. And I lost my mom, my mentor, my business
Oh
partner,
my
my best
God.
friend. So on the other side of that, I was just grieving. I was overwhelmed. I did not
Mm,
know how I was going to run a business with a buyer's agent and a TC and an assistant and an office. I didn't even know how to do my own taxes. Like,
wow. Wow.
so at 21, I had to figure out, like, who am I and how am I going to show up? Because everyone just knew me as like this top producing realtor's daughter. I didn't have my
Mm,
own validity. I didn't have my own business, my own branding, my own marketing, my own anything. I didn't even think I knew what I was doing. Did I? I don't know. I was 21.
wow.
And so at that point, I was like pretty lost, and I was just
Yeah.
trying to find kind of guidepost. So I just kind of did what everybody else was doing. I was doing the professional headshots and like literally that pilgrim outfits I was just telling you about. I did that
Yeah.
for quite some time. I did it for like another 8 or 10 years. And I was like, I'm just going to do 10 deals a year, I guess, until I die, Groundhog Day. Like, and then after 2008 hit, and I went through the Great Recession. I mean, lost homes, really struggled. I
Yeah.
came back from that, and as I was rebuilding my business, I was like, "Well, whatever. I'm not meant to be one of these big time agents. So if I'm gonna do real estate and I'm gonna sell 10 houses a year, like literally, I had an F it moment. I'm just gonna put myself out there and be who I am. I'm gonna talk how I
Yes.
talk, dress
Yes.
how I dress. I'm gonna put my kids on my Instagram. I'm gonna show them that I'm going to this rave. Like, I don't care anymore." And I just got tired of it. So what was really interesting is when I made that switch, like opening my life up, like exposing my vulnerabilities, like being who I really was, it actually exploded my business. And I was
Wow.
so surprised. What I realized is like I had already formed all of these relationships my whole life. I had all these people
Mm,
that knew me, liked me, and trusted me. But when
mhm,
I was
mhm.
not showing up as me in my branding and my marketing in my real estate business,
Yeah.
they were like, "Who the hell is this? Why is she being weird?" You know? Why is
Yeah.
she one way
Wow.
outside of real estate and one way inside of real estate? And so when I kind of made that my personas match, it was like,
Mm,
oh, there she is. Because when you are trying to be somebody you're not, when you're trying to be what you think people expect you to be, you're actually having to climb that mountain of rapport. When you
yes.
expose yourself and you're like completely authentic, you don't have to do that because they already
Mhm.
know, like, and trust you. And
Yes.
it, like exactly what you said, like people are attracted to you. It's attraction marketing
Yes.
versus just marketing.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. That, I mean, whew. All right. First off, shout out to moms. God bless. And for you to even, go deep and talk about your story and talk about what happened and all the things, it says a lot about your character. And so I can only imagine the grieving, the things that you had to go through to get to where you're at now. And to start that whole story, I mean, that's impactful. Anyone who's listening and viewing right now, I mean, right there, right? Like getting past yourself, double, tripling your business, just being who you are. Um, it can speak so much, right? And one thing that comes to mind for me when you talk about that, going deeper on my side is the fact that I find myself, and I had find myself not being maybe my true authentic self around my family, because I'm this business owner, this CEO, this podcast host, this whatever. And then I'm like with not my wife, not my daughter, but like with my like mom, or, with my
Mhm.
stepfather, with my brother, and like maybe not showing up the same, or like lowering my vibration to not be who I truly am
Right.
because of whatever the reason was. I don't even know. I'm just working on letting it go and just being like, I just need to be me all day,
Yeah,
all the time.
everybody does it, and it's one of those things like, if I act this way, they're gonna think that I've changed, or if I show that I like this, that they're gonna realize they don't agree with me. If for some reason at some point in our lives, we are like, if we expose this part of ourselves, they're not gonna accept me, or I'm
Yes.
gonna make them feel some type of way about their life or what they've
Yes.
accomplished. We sometimes like make ourselves less so that we think we can make other people feel like more, and it's actually really the opposite, because being human is real, and being human is professional, and
Yes.
we just don't give ourselves the chance to do that many times, because exactly, you hit the nail on the head, has a lot to do with self-healing.
Mm,
So yeah,
I love
I've
that. I
actually
love that.
created a 4-step process around,
Okay.
like, how to show up authentically in business, and, that's what I've been just trying to share with my agents. Like, if you look at our brokerage, the Avenue Home Collective, we are just like a ragamuffin group of weirdos. I swear.
I love it.
We're
I
all
love it.
so different. Like, we are cut from a million different cloths, different perspectives in life, different class
Yes.
backgrounds and racial backgrounds. We speak, 10 languages at my brokerage.
Wow.
And I love the diversity, not just of racial diversity, but like class diversity and perspective diversity and
Mm,
experience diversity. I think it's so important in this world and in this business to really
yes.
hinge on that. So,
Yes. I love that. I love that. That's huge. And I feel like, like what you said, it's like accepting self, it's okay. And, one thing that just kind of struck a chord for me is that when I'm not being my true authentic self, and I wanted to go down this a little bit, because I want people who's listening right now to understand that like I'm using myself as a vessel for hopefully some clarity for you to be able to grow. Because one thing for me is like, if you're not being your true authentic self in any world environment, whether it's professionally, personally, with your family, whatever, is like you're lowering your light. And I feel like the first thing that came to my mind was when you just said what you just said was like you're lowering the opportunity to inspire someone else to play bigger.
oh my gosh, I love that.
You know,
Like, my number one thing is that when you show up as your true authentic self, like, your story can serve as the match that can light
yes.
someone else's fire to do what they're meant to do in life. And like, that is what's really powerful. So,
Amen. I love that. I love
how have
that.
we not been friends forever?
I know, I know. We have been. We just haven't seen each other in a while because life happens and all the things. But
Oh.
okay, so let's go back to your story a little bit. you're going through the process, you're rebuilding, you're figuring out who you are. God bless your mother. You just lost her. And now it's like, what's the next steps? You know, is it business partner? You're talking to your father. Like, I'm sure there's a little bit of a journey there. For anyone who's listening and viewing, maybe he's going through something like the same thing, and they can relate to your story. You know, let's kind of go back a little bit into that story and what happened. Where did you start?
So rebuilding from 2008, becoming myself and starting to take real ownership of my business, my persona, who I am, my marketing, all of that. I decided to become a broker in 2012, and I started the Avenue Home Collective. Interestingly, I started my brokerage with the name Collective, never intending to ever have any agents under me. I was going to just be one solo agent. I didn't actually think that I could teach how I sell real estate to other people. Didn't believe it. I thought I was weird. I was like, I don't know. I just am who I am. I try really hard for all of my clients. I do the best job I can in my deals, and people just call me to sell homes. How am I supposed to teach that? I did not understand. I didn't realize that what I was doing was actually a system, because I had been fed this whole version of what lead generation systems were. You know, it was just listed, just sold. It was cold calling. It was door knocking. It was scripts. I had been taught that. I was in masterminds, and I was in one-on-one coaching, and I was doing all that from the age of like 16. So what I had been taught was lead generation. I wasn't doing. And so I didn't vibe with any of that. I eventually was just helping other agents in my market, just kind of giving them a safe harbor to sit in a little bit when they're in between other brokerages. People were coming to me for help because I had many years in the industry at that point. And I ended up with like 8 agents that rolled with me. We were running completely virtual. So we did the opposite of what everyone else did. We were a virtual office until 2020 when COVID hit. We opened our office in September of 2020. At that time, I had 12 agents, and we were doing like maybe 60 million in production. When we opened our office and we opened our doors, and we started to collaborate as a community and become just a guidepost in our local community, we exploded. I now have over 40 agents, and we're doing over $250 million in production every single year. And the thing is we are like a mega team in top 1% or whatever across the nation. But we don't do it by paid leads. We don't have a stable of ISAs.
Let's go.
We don't have $100,000 marketing budget a month. We don't have downlines and all that stuff. We just get referrals. We do it the heart-led way. I am helping my agents create like a market-proof, sustainable, long-lasting business where you like the clients that you work with. They are you. They communicate like you. They make decisions like you. I mean, I want to be happy. Like that was my thing. In 2012, I was like, I don't want to work with people that I don't want to work with. I just want to be me. If they don't like me, whatever. Done.
I love it.
And so what I've done is I've helped my agents figure out how to be experts, like actual experts, like really know your stuff. Do a really good job within the transactions. How do you get referrals because of the quality of your work and the quality of human that you are? And how do you shout it from the rooftops? You know, how do you serve your community so that you can become the resource of knowledge? Like that's what I teach at my brokerage. And I'm really proud to say, like the last 4 years, every new agent at my office has actually sold a minimum of 15 transactions their first year.
Let's go.
So it's been fun. It turns out I can teach how to do it.
I love it. No, congratulations. That's huge. And I see that shift. I feel like ever since COVID and going through that whole process, it's really, it gave a lot of enlightenment to a lot of individuals. And so now things have really shifted. It's a little segue. It's funny. Actually, I had my office, and 8 months before COVID shut down the office, and now went 100% virtual. But it's shifted. A lot has shifted, and things are now, people want to, they've always want to buy from something they know, like, and trust. I feel
Yes.
like people want to go deeper and connect because they were locked away and they couldn't do anything and they couldn't really connect. So now people are like, no, 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 I want to connect. And people
Right.
want to be educated more than ever. Like my wife and I, we were in the Bay Area and we moved out here to Gilbert, Arizona about 3 years ago. And I found some guy with his iPhone filming the area of Chandler and Gilbert and all the things. And so I use YouTube personally to then understand where I wanted to move to. And I see a lot of agents now moving in that direction of, adding value, whether it's value from guides, value from YouTube videos, value from this is the process. And you're seeing a lot more in short form content as well.
For
It's
sure.
like things to think about. So people build the know, like, and trust. And then like the 7 Sugars to Yes, a really good book. If you do something for someone else and you're not expecting anything, then that person's gonna be more inclined to want to do something back for you. Right.
Mhm.
So I see all this DNA and also what you're doing, which is awesome. And it makes a lot of a bigger difference because back when there was Zillow, which it's obviously still there, but buying leads and then these companies are selling them to 10 other different realtors, then it's very much murky. And it's like whoever can get to it first. And you still have to build a know, like, and trust. And if like you're showing up and people already know, like, and trust you and you're going deeper, like what you're talking about, then it's an easy process of like, oh my God, I just got a referral. Oh my God, I just got a referral. Oh my God, I just got these comments. Oh, I just got this DM, right? It's like a
Exactly.
total different sequence of events.
You're right on the money. And it's so funny because that whole system of like buying Zillow leads, just buying leads in general, I
Mm,
feel like there has been a gap in real estate. Like people max
yeah.
out generally around 20 to 30 million dollars in solo production. They can't do it anymore.
Mhm.
So then they start buying hiring an assistant. They start hiring a buyer's agent. And then they look at like, how am I going to feed my team? Well, obviously, let's buy leads. And more often than not, that's not what got that agent to that level of success. And yet that's what they teach and that's what they give their agents. And it's kind of like newer agents, they'll just deal with that until they get
Yeah.
semi good enough in a real estate transaction to start getting their own referrals.
Mm,
So now I'm like taking it to the next level. I'm trying to figure out like, okay, how can I teach other leaders to scale their teams in a heart led and referral based way? Because that's how they
wow.
got their business too.
Yeah.
Why do top producers go in, do business one way, and then they make so much, they start a team and then they run that team in a completely different way?
Mm,
So that's what I'm
yeah.
doing now. I'm helping like team leaders scale and grow the same heart-led referral-based business that they had created for themselves.
I love that. I love that. All right. I want to pivot and get a little more tactical. So let's talk about
Yeah.
getting tactical in a sense where, okay, I'm an agent. I'm listening. I'm getting some clarity here. I want to be my true authentic self. And I'm
How do
thinking
I do it?
about, yeah,
Who am I?
who am I? What are some brass tacks things that you give your team members? And if anyone wants to potentially join your team, hey, shout out right now. Links are down below. Check out Melissa. So
Yes.
so what are some practical actionable things that people could take right now and start to apply?
So I've documented like a 4-step process to showing up authentically in business. And it's funny because the thought process behind showing up authentically is actually very woo-woo. It's very spiritually connected.
It
And
is.
but I accept that, and that is a big part of me. It's a big part of who I am. So the number one thing that I ask my agents to do is define their ethos. Your ethos is like your philosophy, so your code of ethics that you live by.
Mm,
And the reason why I think it's so important for people to define their ethos, it's like, what do you stand for? When your
mm,
clients choose you, even when you're choosing a brand to purchase out in the world, you're not just going to buy that item, you are
mhm,
buying what that company represents. People
mhm.
who wear Patagonia, it's not because they necessarily like all of the clothing, it's because
Yeah,
they like what Patagonia represents. They like how it helps the earth, right?
I love it.
Same thing for real estate agents. Your clients want to get behind who they believe in. So if you don't know who you are and what you represent, then how can they do that, right? So
Yes,
my ethos is at the Avenue, we are client centric, community focused agents who care. So
I
when
love
we
it.
define our ethos, we let that thread run all through. We're letting that thread run through our business, the events that we're creating, the ways that we show up for our community, through our
Mhm.
marketing, through the way that we handle ourselves in transactions. I remind my agents weekly that's who we are. We are focused on making sure that the client is first, that what
Yes.
they need and want is first beyond what our commission check is. We are community focused. Like, what is best for our community? How can we support it? How can we gather people together, connect them? And, that we care about everybody in the transaction. We're not trying to like gut check other agents. We're not trying to screw people over. Like,
Love it.
we care. And so I think understanding your ethos is a very crucial part. And then number two, it is know what makes you unique. It's sounds really simple, but it's not easy. For myself, I really had to sit down and think, okay, what makes me unique? Why should people hire me over anybody else in San Diego? And I know that I'm intuitive, I'm resolute, and I'm audacious. Like,
Let's
you can
go.
maybe you can maybe find like other people who have one or two others of those attributes, but they're not going to have all three. And the
Yes.
way that that serves my clients is like in a transaction, I use my intuition, my emotional intelligence, my feeling of like, ooh, this buyer wants this house, but then their concerns, like, let me dig into like what that means. Like, oh, I can't trust what this agent says. Like, let me listen to my gut feeling. Like, this guy is probably lying to us. Let me guide my clients
Yes.
with that intuition, right? Number two, I'm resolute. Like, this is what I feel so sorry for my parents for having to deal with me. I was impossible as a child. You could not tell me no. You still can't tell me no now. If you tell me no, I'm going to be like, well, I think I can make it happen anyway. Like, let's figure it out.
I love it.
And yeah, and that serves my clients really well because you know who you want protecting your money? Somebody who's not going to take no for an answer.
Let's
And
go.
that's
Amen.
me to the T. And then I'm audacious. Like, I want to make real estate fun. I don't want this to be the
Mhm.
most stressful thing that you've ever dealt with in your life. I want to take care of the professional aspect of it and watch your
Mm.
back so that you can actually enjoy the fact that, man, you can afford $1 million home. Did you ever think you can do that? Like,
Yes.
I love that part. That's the part that we don't let people feel because so many times agents are trying to be like, I'm earning my commission. Let me make this feel hard and stressful and be your savior, And I'm like, dude, let's not do that to people. Let's let them enjoy the process. So knowing what made me
Love that.
unique was really crucial. And that's also something that runs through all of my marketing, right? My
Mm.
ethos and what makes me unique. So when you're trying to show up authentically in business, the next thing you have to do, the third step, is the hardest one. And it's the one where most people stop short. And it's owning your shit. And
Mm.
that's the reason why people stop short of it. Um, there are so many times, like, we've all done it. Like, we'll make a post and we'll post it and then we'll take it down. And we're like, oh my God,
Mm.
like if I post that, my past client's gonna think like whatever about me, or my neighbor's gonna judge
Yep.
me, or and really the reason why we feel that way is because we haven't taken a moment to feel worthy of whatever it is we're posting about. Like, self-worth and owning your shit are directly tied to one another because there are so many times in life where our mistakes or our regrets, just our misjudgments, they are holding us back and they're not allowing
Mm.
us to forgive ourselves, heal like
Mhm.
broken parts of ourselves, and move forward so that we can feel worthy that who we are inside should be displayed to the world.
Yes.
So that's the part that I think is the hardest for people to accept. Like, man, the reason why I'm not showing up authentically on my marketing, on my social media, is because I'm afraid. I'm afraid what people are going to say. They're going to, say that I'm not what I'm saying I am. And so when you own your shit, you're like invulnerable to those types of judgments. You're like, no, I know who I am and I love myself. Yeah, I was a shitty person from this year to this year, but you know what? I've healed and this is how I've healed. And I'm
Yes.
allowed to show up this way now because of that healing. So
Wow.
it's a big part, but when you do it, man, you're free. Like, that's when you're really free to display who you are. And
I love
then owning your shit leads you to number 4, which is trusting yourself and showing up confidently. That is the real difference maker. That's when you start to become like a light for other people, because
Mm.
your ability to influence in real estate, in life, is directly tied to the amount of confidence that you bring to a conversation.
Yes.
And we've all heard, like, we've all been involved with, like, you chose that agent over me. Why? Like, I know more than them. I've done more business than them. I'm your friend. And
So
then
true.
but in reality, like, that dude just showed up more confidently. And, why? Maybe because I don't know what I represent. I don't know what makes me unique. And I haven't owned my shit so that I know that I'm better than that person. And so I didn't show up confidently. And that's why I didn't get that business. So that's why I think it's really important to go through all 4 of those steps. When you learn to trust yourself and you become an expert, you really learn what you need to teach other people to be the best agent, to be the best guide for them. Then
Yes.
you can lead the way. Like, especially in a market like this, where real estate is a burning building right now. Like,
Yes.
everybody's looking at each other like, where do I go? Where's the exit? Like, what do I do? And, sometimes when you're not showing up confidently, you're like, I'm pretty sure the exit's that way. Like, wait, you want to try? I think that's the best way. Like, let's go. But when you show up confidently, you're like, no, that's the way out. This is how we're going to live. Follow me if you want to live.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm asking people to do. I'm asking them to know their ethos. I'm asking them to know what makes you unique, own your shit, and show up confidently so that you can be the resource, you can be the guide, and then you will change your business.
Boom. Wow. That was super powerful. So I'm sure there's a link, right? We could put that down below so individuals can go through that. Is that possible for our
Yeah,
viewers?
absolutely. I have a PDF I can send over.
Okay. Awesome.
I'll
Awesome.
put
So
it in
we
my link
definitely,
tree.
let's go. All right. Linktree, links down below. Check her out, Melissa, Instagram. I love that. And a couple things that come to mind is you be on the show, right? If I didn't take that opportunity to, like, you took the opportunity, said something, commented, what have you. I took the opportunity, sent a video back, and then we vibed out, and then now we're here on the show. And so, and that happens in so many different incidences. Is this, if people were to just show up, know those 4 key principles to help them move forward, there could be so much more magical moments created in anyone who's listening or viewing moments. Quick story: I have my neighbor Ashley. She was on a real estate team. For anyone who's listening, who's maybe on a team, it's murky as far as where the relationship starts and stops. And so she was just kind of the executive assistant. Well, the executive assistant 10 years later turned out to her just being an employee. And she's like, well, wait, I don't want to just be an employee. I want to do more. And so I'm trying to get her on the podcast so she could speak her truth and tell the story to inspire more people. So stay tuned for that podcast in the future. But she quit the team. She's on her own. And one of our flips is actually her first listing. So she just went on the market this week. My wife and I, we do fix and flip on the side as a fun little hobby. And so, yeah, it was just like, and so she's crushing it. She's doing her thing. We'll see if I can get her on the show. But if she wasn't her true authentic self and she didn't have that ability to go deeper and be like, you know what, I know my worth. I know I'm worth more than what I'm seeing. And I am a partner in this business. I'm going to do things on my own and go in this direction. So I just wanted to share.
She started showing up as unapologetically herself. And I love that.
Yes, exactly. I absolutely love that. So this has been amazing. Getting into some brack tacks, getting into some stories. This is awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, I see your social media. You're crushing it for everywhere from Inman to Moving Forward event, which Holmes crushing it. I know he just had an event. You were on stage with that. You're doing podcasts with like, speaking of Max Out, I mean, the man, the myth, the legend. I mean, you're just really, have you been manifesting, getting into bigger rooms, getting on stages, keynote speaking, all the things that you're doing? Like, I mean, a host of the American Dream TV show, like, how did this stuff start to transpire when you started showing up and doing those 4 principles? Did these doors open? Did you manifest and try to attract this stuff? Like, for anyone who's listening and viewing that wants to, maybe after they go to your Instagram, they see the success that you've had, like, how did this come about for you?
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. No, I mean, in 2015, like, you put me in front of a camera and I was like weird. I don't know. I haven't not necessarily I have not necessarily chased being on stages. I think what happened is I did learn so much over this last 23 years. And I started self-healing and I started
Mm,
realizing like, man, I actually have been through stuff that's pretty unique. And
mm,
I have this foot in traditional real estate because I've been around since the early 2000s,
yeah.
but I'm like young enough to know marketing, to know tech, to know
Yes.
branding, to feel the pulse of the market. And like, I care. Like, people ask me all the time, they're like, why do you share like all of our deepest secrets and the secret things that make us produce more deals? And I'm like, dude, because we got to make our industry better. We got to
Yes.
change what we don't like about it. We got to
Yes.
improve. We got to improve the standard for real estate agents. And that's really where it came from. I think people just started coming to me and they're like, hey, um, you're a young Filipino woman who produces an immense amount of real estate. You run a team. Like, can we bring you on stage? And I'm like, sure. I've spoken at Inman now 3 years in a row. I'm speaking at Follow Up Boss Con, FubCon. So
Yes,
come out
girl.
to that. I speak for Car and yeah, like Forward. I just did a session with Dave Meltzer for Forward, and
Yes. Saw
and
that.
now I'm running for ARIA national president. And that
Woo!
is truly like light of my life. Like full circle moment,
Wow.
like my mom being a Filipino immigrant. And then I have the opportunity to be, at senatorial hearings and Congress and fighting for affordable housing and fair housing and
Yes.
alternative credit solutions, like data desegregation. Like, this is the stuff that I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I can actually change the world of real estate. I can actually say, hey, this is what I've experienced in all of my years of business. And I know what needs to be done to fix it or make it better or help consumers or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I have had so many coaches and people be like, so are you going to do anything with all these stages? Like, everybody else takes stages to like sell a book or to like, do something. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, educating.
Educate.
So, no, I do it really because I have a unique perspective and I can help other people that are like me, and I'll continue to show up in that way. What you said, like serve without any expectation of return. I
Yes,
like
amen.
1 bazillion% believe in that. Like, I just say yes to things if I feel like in my heart it's something that I can give and like
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And I just know like somehow it's going to come back to me at some point, and I'm cool with that. So,
Amen. I love that. I love that. That's awesome. And I want to say a couple things because for the agents out there that say, hey, why is she telling all of our stories? Well, at the end of the day, you can't take anything with you. And money is just monetary gains to pay for the bills and do the things that you need to do. So at the end of the day, people get you said and did won't forget the way you made them feel. If you make them feel something or you help them have success in their business, that's legacy. When Melissa's gone one day, as we all will be, what are the people going to remember you of? You could say, like, why did Alex Mosey just do his big event for his book launch and just give away all that stuff for free? Because he just gained so many additional followers and he's serving and supporting so many different individuals. And I got to say, shout out Philippines, shout out Team PH on the Liftoff Agent side that sponsors the show. 95% of our business is ran in the Philippines because they're the hardest working, most amazing individuals, and they work harder. They're not entitled like a lot of people here in the States. I don't mean to give any discredit to anyone that does work very hard and is very appreciative of their jobs here in the
absolutely.
States. And yeah, I'll be in Korea and the Philippines the month of November, seeing
Oh
our
my
team out
God,
there.
I
So
love this. See what?
yes,
You're like my brother from another mother. I mean,
yes,
I'll tell you, like, one of the reasons why I want to be president of ARIA is because I was in real estate for 20 years and I didn't realize, like, my own community, how much help and how much a voice was needed to represent them. Because, like AAPI, we
yeah,
we just like head down, work
yes,
hard. Like,
yes,
if there are so many things that are culturally different about from Asia Pacific Islanders to like the American way of doing credit and business and
yeah,
bills and
yeah,
accounting, and there was so much of a separation there in
hmm
understanding how to qualify for a home, how to set your taxes up, how to set your income up so that you can qualify. For so many years, it's still happening today. There's a huge disparity in
yeah,
homeownership rates for the AAPI community
yeah,
because there isn't education enough about it. And people don't want to talk about, like, oh, I got denied loan for that loan. Like, why? How do I fix it? They just kind of like stay silent and they just kind of do their thing. Like, guess I need to work harder. Guess I need to save more. And they didn't realize like there was actually the odds stacked against them. So I want to help like bridge that gap and help people cover that disparity.
I love
This
that.
can't be anymore. Like,
I love that 100%. And
we'll come
that's the
back
one
on and
thing
we'll talk all about that kind of stuff. Like
we're gonna have to for sure,
we're
because
gonna
that's the
have
one
to.
thing. It's just so gratifying to work with individuals and like they're in-house. This is not like, hey, we're looking for other people outsourcing. They're in-house on staff, and like we do profit sharing and the whole 9 on a quarterly basis at Liftoff and doing things completely differently than outside of traditional companies out there. I'm not going to drop any names, and it's amazing how like they don't speak up, and a lot of individuals like to just kind of nose to the grindstone, get it done. And then they do speak up, and then the upper management takes their idea and makes it their own. And there's just so much happening in other countries. And so we need to stand up and support and serve. And if anything, like we're one world here. Okay. It's
That's
not
right.
just one location, one race better than we're all here collectively as a consciousness,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Synergy, right? We talked about synergy and the collective, and like the collectively we're all together. And as soon as we finally become one, oh my God, the magic would be amazing. It's gonna take some time, but we're getting there, and more
We're getting
individuals
there.
like
We're
us
on our way.
connecting. Yes, I
And
can't
it's
wait.
people like us connecting and, gathering like-minded individuals and creating communities that really makes the difference.
Amen. 100%. I love that. I love that. All right. So we could talk forever. I'm going to go ahead and put the stage on you, Melissa, for our viewers and listeners as we close out today's episode. What would you like them to take from today's episode to apply to their business now? I know they have the action step for that 4-step process, becoming, who they're going to become, but anything else that you want to leave with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I just really want people to feel free to explore who they are, to understand that who you are is very worthy of the success that you
Mm,
imagine for yourself. And, we are our own worst enemy. We are our own worst judge and jury.
mm.
So if there's anything I can ask you to take away from this, it's start to understand who you are, start to understand what you bring to the world, and have the confidence to show up in that way. Because truly, like I said earlier, your story can serve as a match for others. And that is truly powerful.
Amen. 100%. Wow. Melissa, this has been an absolute treat. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show. And what
So
better
fun.
yet way to connect than live on the air with all of our viewers and listeners here on Real Estate First Technology side of things, to just give. And instead of us just being kind of selfish and sharing each other's story and going back and forth, let's throw it out there to the public to see.
Yes, let's do it.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. So thank you again. I appreciate you. And thanks to all our viewers and listeners, as it is our intention for you to take things from an episode, apply to your business, and have more massive success. If you've already done so, subscribe, notification bell, comment below with what you took from today's episode. And 3:30 Pacific Standard Time every Friday, new episodes. We'll see you on the next one.